but it really like opened my eyes to this whole different opportunity and this whole different like genre of rentals, if you will. So it was like I was learning about it. We still use Furnished Finder for every single one of our properties. I would say probably about 80 to 90% of our bookings come from Furnished Finder. It's like, this is your property, right? This should be up to you. You're not jumping into a college level thing, right? It's like, this is a very obtainable way to run real estate. It is not rocket science.
Have you ever considered doing a midterm rental and using Furnished Finder? If so, you want to listen in to today's episode with Katie Lyon. Katie is the marketing director for Furnished Finder, an investor herself, and she's going to talk us all through not just her investing journey, but also best ways to be able to use the platform. Katie, thank you very much for being here. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very good.
Of course. I always just like to start with who you are behind the real estate investor, behind the marketing director. Would you just be willing to share a little bit about yourself with us?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I am a mom. I have two kids. They are seventh grade and fourth grade. I'm also a part-time zookeeper. We have two dogs, two cats, and a hedgehog. So I run a family and a zoo. But besides being the marketing director and being the investor and all of the things I kind of do every day, right? Like running the tasks and being the parent and all running the household and all that. I try to just be someone who has fun, right? And just not forget that like nothing in life we need to take too seriously, and just to have fun and enjoy it all and connect with people. I think that is a big part of the joy of life that sometimes we forget about. It's just that we're all here together.
Right. And honestly, if it's not fun, why are we doing it?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's fun to be found in everything.
Totally agree. Yeah. So did the fun start then with investing or with doing marketing? Where did that journey kind of begin?
Yeah. So before I worked at Furnished Finder, I actually worked at a private placement commercial real estate investment firm, really small boutique firm in Denver. I kind of landed there just based on coincidence. My husband and I were looking to move from Northern Colorado, and I liked the idea of working at a small company. So I started there in like an investor relations and marketing kind of hybrid model. Turns out I was terrible at investor relations and all things like reporting and fine tuning numbers. And it was not my jam. I was really bad at it. But the marketing spot I really liked, and I went to school for marketing, so I have a degree. And then when, my chapter was kind of coming to a close there and I was ready to move on to something else, I discovered that the Furnished Finder was looking for a marketing director. And I really liked how opportunistic this company is. Especially a couple years ago, right? There was a handful of us in the US who were operating the company, at least from the domestic side. And it's a place where if you get to have an idea, you get to see it come to life, and there's not a lot of red tape. It's a very like entrepreneurial spirited company. So I had always seen and known the power of real estate investing from my commercial real estate investing days, but commercial real estate was definitely not my jam. It's much more like the suits and ties club. And it just didn't fit with like my personal investing strategy. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's great. It just wasn't our jam. So then it was kind of like trying to figure out, okay, we understand the power of real estate. How do we make this work? And then coincidentally, I'm working at Furnished Finder now. And then my eyes were opened to this midterm rental space that I honestly didn't even really know about before, right? I had known about short-term rentals and long-term rentals, but it really like opened my eyes to this whole different opportunity and this whole different like genre of rentals, if you will. So it was like I was learning about it on a personal level and a professional level all at the same time. And then it was like, okay, like this strategy makes sense to me.
Gotcha. So you did not own rental properties before working at Furnished Finder?
We had one long-term rental, and that was our old house. And we had kept that just to keep the appreciation for a little bit while. But then we sold it so that we could get the capital gains removed. So that was some strategic timing there. Yeah.
Okay. So at that point, then here you are in Furnished Finder, and let's do this for a second.
Yeah.
Let's define midterm rental.
Yeah. So a midterm rental, it's a really good question. Midterm rental is going to be anything that is furnished and 30 days and up. So if you're operating, an unfurnished rental, but you're operating from like 3 month rentals, we wouldn't really consider that a midterm or a monthly rental. We're really talking about a furnished rental that someone comes for at least a month. The average that we see on Furnished Finders, the stays are about 3 months.
Gotcha. Oh, that's really interesting. All right. We're going to dig a little bit more into that at that point. But where was that light bulb moment for you working now at Furnished Finder with midterm rentals all day long where you were like,
Yeah.
we should do this? Like that you should do it in
Yeah.
your personal life?
Yeah, that's a good question. We wanted to have an investment property, at least one, multiple, really, but we were looking all over for short-term rentals and it was a struggle, right? It was hard to find like what's right, what market is right, what market's risky but not too risky, right? Like a level we're comfortable with, but the numbers look good. And we really struggled. And then we thought about, well, what if we did it in our own backyard? And we're in the Denver area. Couldn't
Mm-hmm.
quite get the numbers to work within our budget in this area. Not that it doesn't work in this area, it works fantastic in this area. It's just what we were looking to purchase. We had a lower capital boundary. So
Mm-hmm.
then we started to look where my family lives, which is in the Midwest, and properties are very affordable in the Midwest. And when you take the midterm strategy, like they cash flow really well and the appreciation is slower, but it
Mm-hmm.
still happens, right? So that's when we were like, let's give it a try. And the first thing we did on the midterm front was we arbitraged a studio apartment. So literally testing in the smallest way we could. So we didn't purchase, we just rented, furnished, and re-rented a 600 square foot unit. And we still have that unit. It
Wow.
performs great, does really well. We're happy with it. So then we just kept saying, okay, it's working. Let's scale. It's working. Let's do more. Right.
Huh. I have to ask about that because that also is new for some of our listeners too.
Yeah.
Arbitrage. So you didn't own the unit, but
Correct.
you were able to rent from the landlord and then you sublet that out. Was your landlord
Right.
aware that this was your plan?
They were. Yeah. And
Okay.
that's been something like we've always been really upfront. We have a few arbitrage partners now.
Nice.
And it's always like, hey, we go in with the understanding like, hey, we are renting your property with the understanding that we're going to furnish it and we're going to rent it, but not to short-term rental people who are coming in for the weekend, but to people who are like really in need of a solid place to live for a few months.
I love that you mentioned that because normally when I hear rental arbitrage, it tends to be a strategy that's taught to people that just don't have the funds or the ability to purchase at that point in time. What I love that I'm hearing you did was tested the market, tested the strategy. You had the availability for it, but it was a way to at least say, let's see if this is really the right fit. Let's see if this is a good market. Let's see if this is a good property. Well, and if we like this,
Right.
before going all in and being able to buy it. So I think that's a really, really unique plan there to go in to be able to arbitrage as a testing of your market and your strategy rather than a all or nothing, let's hope this works out.
I mean, I kind of think of it like dating, right? Like you don't go and say, hey, you look great on paper. Let's go get married. You say, let's go on a few dates. Let's test this out. Maybe let's live together, whatever your jam is. But like you test it out and the practicality to see if your thought process, what you think will happen will really happen. So it's like
Right.
the arbitrage has not only gotten us to be able to scale faster because we don't have to have all that capital up front, but it's given us a really good test. Like, hey, how do we like this size of property? How do we like this location? How do we like, this format? If it's an apartment or a single family home or a condo, like it lets you like try before you buy, quite literally.
Yeah.
And it's really handy. And if it's a situation you don't find to work out exactly how you want, like you're in a 1-year lease, right? Like the
Right.
worst case scenario is not that bad.
Right. That a lot less than a 30-year mortgage.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay. And I have to ask then, did you
Yeah.
use Furnished Finder for that arbitrage first property?
Yeah, we did. We did. We still use Furnished Finder for every single one of our properties. I would say probably about 80 to 90% of our bookings come from Furnished Finder.
Yeah.
We have really good luck. And I say this not as someone who works at Furnished Finder or the marketing director, right? But just like we use Furnished Finder the way it's intended to be used. Like we make our listings We put a lot of effort into them. We make sure our photos are impeccable. We make sure our descriptions are really thorough and really accurate. And we communicate with these leads, right? And we try to form those relationships so that we can get good tenants in there.
Gotcha. Tell us a little bit about your first experience now using Furnished Finder from that consumer side.
I mean, I think for me, it's very transparent, right? A lot of
Mhm.
the booking platforms, you think Airbnb, you think Vrbo, they have their places in the market and they have their strengths and their weaknesses, their pros and cons. But everything is kind of behind the curtain, right? You can't typically see who you're dealing with until after the booking and then their profile picture appears, right? Or like you can only ask certain questions. I can't call someone. If someone's inquiring about
Right.
a 6-month stay, I can't call them and get a feel for them. I can't do a tenant screening. So the transparency of Furnished Finder is what I really appreciated as a landlord and an investor. If someone's in my property for that long and or
Mhm.
a property that I'm arbitraging that I'm still ultimately responsible for, like I want to know that person. I want to be able to talk on the phone with them. I want to be able to run a tenant screening. I want to be able to have a lease that like I had a hand in reviewing or making sure it's, state compliant, all of these different things because it's a different type of relationship you're forming, right? You're not going to be dealing with this guest for 2 days. It might be 2 months or
Mhm.
3 months or 10 months. Like it's just, you want to have that type of relationship.
Right. I think this is something that actually makes your site, Furnished Finder, a bit different than other sites out there. It's interesting that a few minutes ago you gave that kind of dating, matchmaking example because I feel like that's kind of where Furnished Finder is. I
Yeah.
feel like some of the other sites that shall remain nameless, more are very committal,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
person wants to stay. I want a good rating. I have to automatically accept whoever this person is, and that could be for 3 days, 3 months, 3 years. That's what I have to accept,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So within that, let's talk about why Furnished Finder has that model of more of just we're putting people together.
Right.
You two kind of figure out if it's going to work rather than kind of those automatic bookings that you see in a lot of other sites.
Right. Yeah. I think from the very beginning, one of the core values of Furnished Finder has been control and
Mm-hmm.
letting that control be between the property owner or manager and the tenant. Right. And we have marketplace guidelines and terms that we require everybody to go within. So it's not just a free for all, obviously, like we have structure in there. However, it's like this is your property,
Mm-hmm.
right? This should be up to you. So it's very, I think that's a really important thing. And you give up that control with the more traditional online booking. And you also give up control of a lot of your revenue, right? I think a lot of people think, oh, it's free to list my property on Airbnb. Sure, but you pay every single time someone books. Not only do you pay
Right.
that host fee, but whatever your tenant or your guest pays in their guest fee, your guest has one budget. So if their budget is $3,000, it doesn't matter if they are paying, $2,500 to you and $500 to Airbnb. Their budget is $3,000, right? So
Right.
that's money that you are missing out on. So not only are you paying, but you are missing out because they're taking it from the traveler as well. So I think it's just, it's that transparency, it's that control, and it's just knowing that that should be between the tenant and the landlord, and you should be able to maintain that, right? And you shouldn't have your booking revenue skimmed off the top, right? You should get, if you're charging $2,000 of rent, you should get $2,000 of rent.
Begs the question then of
Yeah.
how the pricing model for Furnished Finder then does work.
Yeah, good question. I've had so many people come up to me at conferences and be like, "So how do you make money?" I'm like, "Well, it's pretty easy. So we are a price per listing per year, right? So it's a subscription model. You can pause or turn off your subscription if you find that you've moved on to a different strategy or something. But right now we charge $179 per listing per year. But that's for unlimited leads and really unlimited bookings, right? It's just like you're enabled to use the platform and have your listing up and make it and change it as many times as you want, connect with as many leads as you want. So we just keep it a lot simpler.
Going to make me ask a question here, and if this is out of scope, totally fine. But you mentioned then unlimited leads. That's something that you hear with any site, and I'm talking even for long-term rentals, not just the
Yeah.
short-term or midterm rentals, but even like long-term rentals, like how is my listing shown to others? How does, the whole algorithm, I feel like that's one of the most popular,
Yeah.
that's the most popular word I feel like for the past like 15 years that
I
none of us
know,
ever
right?
talked about
Yeah.
growing up at all. But from your perspective, actually, I'm going to ask you this as marketing director, and then I'm going to ask you this as user. But what do you feel like is one of the best things that a user can do in their listing to help make sure unlimited leads
Yep.
actually turns into any leads?
Yeah. Yeah. Really good question. First of all, our booking requests and our traveler demand is up significantly year over year. Like we are seeing that the demand for monthly rentals is continuing to grow and not going anywhere. So that is awesome. I've also seen that reflected in my own properties. We have 13 midterm rentals. Like they're full. They're full. I don't know my exact occupancy rate because quite frankly, I haven't sat down to try to figure it out, but they're full, right? And like when we have a
Yeah.
gap, it's like a few days or a week, but they're full, right? The best thing people can do is keep your property photos up to date and really, really good. We live in a visual society. If you take a picture with your iPhone and it's dark and it's dreary and the curtains are closed or there's stuff on the ground, like take the pictures that somebody wants to be there and hire a professional photographer. Like number one tip.
Right.
I know nobody wants to pay for it. They're not expensive. Pay for it. Like you will get your ROI back so quickly. I swear, like hire the photographer. They know what they're doing. Fill out your listing completely, right? Like you take all this time to set up a rental and you get your membership. And then I see too many people who just like hurry through their listing. And I'm like, wait. Like you're in the final 10 yards, right? Like now is not the time to stop and slow down. This is the time to be like thoughtful and think,
Mm-hmm.
what amenities do I have? How do I need to talk about them? Can I be pet friendly? Where's a washer and dryer? If I don't have one, can I recommend a close by laundromat or something? Like this is your time to really like put your billboard together. And
Right.
all too often people just hurry through that. So it's like think of your listing as your thesis paper and you want it to be great, right? It's not difficult, but you want to just make it great and make it accurate. So make your calendar accurate. It's really hard to serve users with great leads. If, let's say, for instance, you tell us you're available and you're not available, then you're going to get leads for people who are looking for housing when you're not available, right? Like,
Right.
give us accurate information. But really, there's no we're not trying to trick people. We're trying to just make it so that travelers can find their best housing.
You said a fun word there. Travelers.
Yeah.
I know for myself, and I know for many others, just running our Lady Landlords community, that Furnished Finder probably came on my radar and so many other people's radars 2020, right?
Yep.
And it became synonymous with travel nurses that, oh, there's travel nurses. And I was like, every hospital right now needs nurses going through this pandemic.
Yeah.
But it just became travel nurses being sent to different locations. They need a midterm rental. And I feel like I kept hearing more about midterm rentals and more specifically about Furnished Finder during that period of time. From your side, was there an influx in that space? And
Yeah.
it seems that now Furnished Finder has changed from just the travel nurse market, now 5 years later. Who are the other people that you're seeing that are coming to your platform?
Yeah, it's interesting. We were kind of built on the bones of travel nursing. That's originally what the platform was built for. And then obviously in 2020, we all got this unexpected huge need for medical care. So that was a big thing, right? But since then, we've seen travel nursing like return to par. I hear a lot of investors and property owners say that travel nursing has disappeared or it's tanked. And it's like, no, it's just kind of back to its normal level, right?
Right.
There's always a demand just because, hospitals have fluctuating demand and that's what they bring travelers in for. So we're seeing travel nursing and really traveling medical professionals. It could be anybody in the medical field at about 25 to 30% of our demand.
Okay.
But what we're really seeing is a lot of corporate workers, a lot of business workers, a lot of trade workers, a lot of relocating families. insurance claims. We're housing my family and I right now. One of our properties, we have a family who's waiting for their new construction home to be done. I have had people who are traveling for medical treatment. I've had
Mm-hmm.
people who are traveling to the area and like their whole family's moving there, but like dad's getting a head start. And then he's going to do the house hunting while the rest of the family is back in whatever state finishing out the school year. I've had people who are going to visit sick family members. Like there's so many different needs. That business travel is just booming. And so is relocation because with the housing
Right.
market right now and for the foreseeable future, like you want to take your time, right? Like you want to get the right house or maybe you're renovating, right? Like you're like, I don't have a usable kitchen for 6 weeks. I need to stay somewhere.
Literally,
So
literally me, as I was
yeah,
telling you before this, I am getting kicked out of my home due to
yeah,
some renovations that have been taking place. And I was told today I have to go find a place for, the foreseeable future because of
yeah.
that. So that's already my like, okay, I got to figure out a place to stay.
It's a big thing, right? Because especially
Yeah.
if you have a house that you have a really good interest rate on, you're probably not going to move. You're probably going to renovate. So it's, I mean, it's just a huge thing. And also just lifestyle, right? Like if you want to, hey, I want to be closer to my family for the summer, or, oh, I live in Texas and I hate the winter here. Like I'm going north for the winter or vice versa. Like our lives are just a lot more flexible, right? Like
Right.
6 years ago, a lot of people didn't work remote and now it's not unusual, right? So
Right.
there's a good portion of our world now where it's like, hey, if you want to go work from another part of the country for a few months, like, sure, no problem, right? It's not a
Right.
wild thought anymore. It used to be like a wait, you can do what? And now it's kind of like, well, I work from home every day anyway, right? It's not that wild of a concept.
Right. How you were talking about travel nurses. I wasn't a nurse. I did work in the medical field, but I worked remotely before the pandemic. And it was very interesting then, kind of post pandemic, when people are like, oh, you're so lucky you're still remote. And I was like, I actually always
Right.
was.
I have
Like,
been.
that was like just
Yeah.
like travel nursing. That was actually a thing before the pandemic. It's just
Right.
more common now.
Right.
But, and it's exactly that.
Right.
I was actually talking to a woman in Our Lady Landlords Inner Circle earlier today. She's a digital nomad. So we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about like her scaling her portfolio, and we were kind of like, well, this is kind of nice for you to be able to do because you can have multiple properties in multiple places around the states because you want to spend 3 months here, you want to spend 2 weeks
Yeah.
there, you want to go spend a month there. And it was ironic that we had this talk today, but she uses Furnished Finder to be
Yeah.
able to say, where do I want to stay? Where's a good place for me to kind of park myself for a few months and then can move on.
Yeah.
She's been doing that for a few years now.
I mean, even my in-laws, I feel they have a cabin up in the mountains here in Colorado. And I feel like that generation, it was much more accessible to kind of get a vacation home or things like that. With the economy and everything today, it's not as practical at all, right? It's like if you're going to have that type of mountain escape or beach escape or something like that, you have to be
Right.
able to multi-purpose it, right? Like you're going to
Right.
make it a short-term rental or a midterm rental, or maybe you're going to say, oh, this is going to be a short-term rental during the high season, and then I'm going to make it into a midterm, and then I get to spend all the month of December up there, right? So it's like it's a big way that people are getting smart when they're like, I want to have another home to enjoy or to visit,
Right.
but I can't afford to just let it sit there.
Right. What
So
other ways to be able to bring some income in without just letting that sit there? Where then
right,
now you have that availability to say, yeah, I get to live here. I get to go enjoy these different spaces and have that vacation home that used to be
right,
out of reach for a lot of other people that were like, I can't afford this place to sit there
right,
for
right,
6 months out of the year. But
yeah,
now saying, or even more, but now being able to say, well, let's make some money with it
yeah,
in on the other side.
yeah.
What are some of the ways that you see users of Furnished Finder, or even just through your own experience with midterm rentals, that just shoot themselves in the foot, that just really struggle being able
Yeah.
to generate those leads, get those bookings, that are just things that our members at Lady Landlord should watch out for and make sure that they don't replicate?
Yeah, I think a lot of times if people are coming from the short-term rental world, a lot of the short-term rental work comes after the booking is in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you've got to send them the welcome message and make sure they get in and then do the check-in. And then there's a lot of kind of relationship and hospitality work on the backside. With midterm rentals, a lot of it is more upfront. So like I don't want you to set set up your listing and then set it and forget it. Right? Like I want you to like set it up and then I want you to like go in and like test different cover photos, right? Or like play with your headline, add to your description. If you think, oh, actually, I also have this amenity, go in and add it, right? Just to keep that activity and that involvement. And we're going to give you the leads, but you have to do something with them, right?
Right.
That I think is a very kind of common thing. It's just a little bit of a flip of the mindset. But then once you get a midterm tenant in, it's generally very hands off, right? Like they end up living at the
Right.
property. They're not staying there, they're living there. So you're going to get them in, you're going to get them settled. And then unless something breaks or happens, you're probably not going to hear much. So
Right.
it's just a different kind of shift of that mental load, and not like it's difficult, right? It's not like it's challenging. We've actually worked really hard to make it really user friendly and kind of walk everybody through the process. But for instance, if someone texts you because they got your number off Furnished Finder, you got to text them back. You got to, like
Right.
80% of the game is just showing up. It's replying to those leads. It's answering the messages. It's having that good listing. Like that's truly 80% of the game.
I like that because it sounds more long-term strategy-wise, right? I have long-term rentals. I have midterm rentals, also thanks to Furnished Finder. I also have short-term rentals. But
Yeah.
that's my strategy is always how do I do the least amount of work for the most amount of money? That's how I like
Yeah.
to function. And I
Yeah.
like my long-term rentals because of that. It is very much a set it and forget it. But the time where you really put in the work is the screenings, is to be able to get people in.
Mhm.
And yes, responding to people. I
Yep.
have a long-term rental that is vacant right now that I'm screening tenants for. And the second I get like a message about it, I'm like, how fast can I get back to that person?
Right.
How quickly can
Right.
I respond to them and get that information? Because I know after they send me that message, hi, is this available? What are they
Right.
doing? They're going to the next one.
Right.
To your point earlier, they're looking at the picture. And then
Yep.
they're going to send that person a message, right?
Yep.
So I do want to
Yep.
respond here. So I do appreciate that just making sure that kind of common sense piece is just there, where if you're
Right.
going to have that and you want that to be rented, that needs to be a bit of a focus. That needs to be
Right.
part of that role, is really being able to say, I'm going to stay on top of it. And it might be a few
Right.
weeks that it's going to take me to talk to people, to qualify people, to make sure to get them all set to get in. But then it's really kind of hands off.
Totally.
Me and a couple other women always have a very big debate over short-term rental, midterm rental versus long-term rental, right? So right now, if you were to debate why midterm rental is the way to go,
Yeah.
give me your best argument for it.
Oh, good question. I have found midterm rentals to be a very happy middle ground. Long-term rentals, like you said, I love it because we had a long-term rental, our old primary residence. We turned into a long-term rental for 3 years. Cause yeah, it's really hard to flip, right? That flip
Mhm.
takes a few days. And I'm like, man, we need to order 3 yards of mulch and this tree is dead and all of this deferred maintenance like that. The flips are hard, but once you get someone in there, it's crickets unless something breaks, right? Which we can't help. Stuff breaks no matter how you're renting it out. So that's kind of an unequal.
Right.
But that's great. But the cash flow is low, right? Like I think especially if you're going to acquire a property new in today's market, you might break even, but you're really in it for the appreciation, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's 100% a valid strategy. But like maybe you cash flow a couple $100 here or there, but it's hard. Short-term rentals, the amount of work is very intimidating for me. It really is, especially as like I work full time. I'm a mom. Like I said, I'm a
A zookeeper.
zookeeper. Like if I can just keep up with my laundry, I feel like I'm winning at life. I have done gaps where I've had in my midterm rentals where I run it as a short-term rental. And
Yeah.
personally, it makes my anxiety so high because I'm just like, did that person get in? Did the cleaner get done? Is it okay? I didn't have time to send anybody there to walk through it. Like, did I reset the code? And I know there are systems and there are people who are fantastic at these things. I bet you're one of them, right? like it's something where I think there's a very steep learning curve and then you master it, right?
Mhm.
But it's really time sensitive. And if you have a guest
Yeah.
at your property and they have an issue, they want to hear back in an hour or two, not a day or two, right?
I could say 2 hours might even be,
Yeah,
you
you're
might
pushing
lose
it.
a star on that.
Right. Like it's really the bar is really, really high. With midterm rentals, it's like, okay, I get on average about 2x a long-term rental rate, but my stress level is so much less than a short-term rental. So
Right.
that's for me like where the magic was. And with us creating our portfolio of midterm rentals, it wasn't because I met Furnished Finder, right? Like it'd be cool if like, I could be like, "Oh yeah, these are all my properties and I do this for work." But it's truly coincidental because that makes me very comfortable, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm willing to do more work than a long-term rental, but I don't have the capacity to even manage a flip 2 or 3 times a week, right? Like that is so like it just makes my heart palpitate. And I've gone through this thought process right before. I'm like, well, I could have a short-term rental and I could just hire out the management. Well, then I might as well have a midterm because of the cut that the property
The
management would be
cost.
taking.
Right.
So it's just, and I also really like the lower wear and tear. Like our properties, the wear and tear, there's no walls getting dinged up from people moving furniture in and out every year,
Hmm.
but there's also not like the crazy wear and tear from a short-term rental, right? Like it's much more mild on that front. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like a Goldilocks effect where it's like, okay, it's not too hot, it's not too cold, like it feels okay to me.
Right. And what I like about real estate just in general, there's really a space for all of us. There
Totally.
are people that absolutely they come from that customer service background, which is really how I see a short-term rental.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like now you're in a hospitality business, right? I personally like my long-term rentals because I provide you four walls that are safe, that are clean, and then we move on, right?
Yep.
And those are
Yep.
two very different spaces, right? I
Yes.
never I never really worked in the customer service area when I was younger. Probably would not have been a fit for me. So I feel like there's still kind of that balance that we all have to find what is really going to be the right
Yeah.
fit for us. And I love that you're saying for me, that's my Goldilocks. Like that was
Right.
the place that just really
Right.
was that fit. Perfectly okay if it's not for somebody else, but it shows you that it
Totally.
doesn't have to be this every 2 night minimum turnover and doesn't have to be you're stuck with a person for a year
Right.
or
Well, and
longer.
I think you can have like seasons too, right? Like you could have a high season of short-term rentals and you're like, okay, high season is over. Like I've maxed out my revenue for that. I'm going into a little bit of a lower season. Let's do it
Right.
midterm, right? That way you're not stressing over the blank calendar days so much. Or, hey, I have this property, I've long-termed it for 2 years, but I'm really curious what it could do as a midterm. Like try it, right? None of
Right.
these pivots are that dramatic, especially midterm and short-term, interchanging those if you're
Right.
smart about it, like logistically, it's operating them is very similar. It's just that midterm is less of everything. But it's not like you have to go add furniture or anything. You already have it all set up.
I completely
So
agree. I feel like if it's
yeah.
already furnished, it's easier to switch between those two.
Yeah.
It sometimes will scare me when somebody says, okay, I'm going from this long-term rental. I want to go to the short-term rental. I'm going to furnish everything. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
like, we're not just talking like beds and dressers here. We're
Right.
talking about like you need thread count on sheets and you need towels
Yeah.
and coffee pots. Like
Yeah.
those are things that,
Yeah.
are just shortly. One of my short-term rentals, we actually had complaints about this incredibly fancy, expensive espresso machine. Switched it out to like a $20 coffee machine. All of a sudden, our ratings started to go higher because people were so happy with the coffee machine. And
Like, okay.
that was the most, and we're talking about a beachfront property in the Dominican Republic. And we were like, really, you could see turquoise water out of a window. And yet, meanwhile, the highlight of this person's stay is a simple drip coffee machine.
Right.
Who would have guessed? Right?
Right.
Like that just would
Yeah.
not have been something. And my husband and I actually don't drink coffee. And it was just we thought people would be so happy with this like nice big fancy machine. And it wasn't. So
They're too intimidated. Yeah.
imagine now doing that with all of the other items in a house. But if you have that short-term rental and are
Yes.
considering moving to that midterm model or want to try it out, it's really not a big
Right.
switch
Right.
kind of go through. You're already doing the marketing, but you're already doing the marketing with the listing.
Yeah.
You're already listing
Yeah.
your highlights. With that, it's interesting that I personally, there's certain sites that I would think of when I think of a short-term rental and more of a place I want to go for a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Furnished Finder has really found that niche that if I were to think about where is a place that I want to go for a midterm rental, there's kind of not another name that comes to mind to me before
Right.
Furnished Finder, right?
Yeah.
The other ones I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that's more of like a vacation type spot, not going to have the same comfortability, the same amenities as I would find through like Furnished Finder.
Yeah.
What do you think set Furnished Finder apart that really put you in such a position to brand yourselves as the go-to name that's
Yeah.
pretty synonymous with a midterm rental.
I mean, I think honestly, you just nailed it. It's that we're not trying to be anything else. Like we are monthly furnished rentals. That's what we are.
Right.
Right. If you're looking for a 2-night stay, that's fantastic. We're not the place for you to find it. If you're looking for an annual unfurnished stay, that's fantastic. We're not the place to find it. Like
Right.
we're really honing in on what we're trying to serve because there's so many people looking for these. There's so many people who are looking for monthly furnished rentals. I don't think you always instinctively realize it until you start brainstorming the types of tenants, right? Because you're like, oh, travel nurses, great. But how many of those are there, right? And there's
Right.
thousands upon thousands, right? But you're like, but who else could really be looking at this? And I think as consumers and stuff, we have a hard time thinking outside of our own box. Like I have a family and the zoo, it's very hard for us to relocate for 3 months, right? So we're not the typical user unless we were like relocating or we had, God forbid, a fire or a flood or something, right?
Right.
But just because you're not the target, there's plenty of people who are,
Right.
right? It's like, what about the grandma who wants to live next to her grandkids for the summer? What about
Right.
someone who's traveling for that medical treatment that they can only get at that specialized hospital? What about someone who did have a flood at their house? It's like we're the home for all of that, right? Like we are the place that they come because we're not trying to be everything to everybody. And
Right.
I think that's also important when you're thinking about how do you run your rental? Like don't try to be everything to everybody. Be really, really great at running your property or your properties and operating them the way that you want to.
Right. I feel like there is a need to match up kind of what your strategy is to what your own time. Like you said, you were like, I have no desire to be on call 24/7. And you also said, you also didn't really care to be on a project, be a project manager on site at
Yeah.
rehabs, a couple
Yeah.
times a year. So
Yeah.
I think it's very important to say, what is it that really lights me up?
Totally.
Match that with
Yes.
what does your area, what is that or whatever market you're investing in, what do numbers look like in that space? If those two things both, once again, kind of make you happy, right? This is going to fit my lifestyle, and yes, I like the returns that I'm looking at here. Go with what
Yeah.
that strategy looks like.
Yeah.
So,
What's really nice about midterm rentals is it's like it's not rocket science. It does not have to be intimidating, right? Like for me,
right.
I've always liked the idea about rehabbing or flipping. I don't know the first thing. I don't I do not know the first thing. Now, am I handier than my husband? Yes.
Yeah.
But like I can change a doorknob, okay? I have no right. I have no business doing a flip. And
Okay.
that would be incredibly risky for me to do. And now that's not to say I could never do it. I could, partner with someone like you who's an expert and learn. But like midterm rentals, you're not jumping into a college level thing, right? It's like this
Right.
is a very obtainable way to run real estate. It is not rocket science. You don't have to have all the automations and all the integrations that you do with short term. Like you can literally just text your tenants. You can just call them. Anything you need as a part of that process, like we have worked really hard to integrate with Furnished Finder. So we're like, hey, we recommend you screen each tenant. You can do it however you want. If you need help, here's a screening that you can use, right? You need to have a lease for every tenant. If you have a process, that's great. If you don't, okay, here's a lease, right? Like
Right.
we're really trying to help you with it because it does not have to be something where you're like, oh, there's this incredibly steep learning curve. Like this is
Right.
doable.
Right. And also with midterm rentals, if you don't want to do it, you can stop.
Yeah.
Right? You're
Yeah.
not committed. You're not like, okay, only, 11 more months and 3 more weeks of this.
Right.
It's,
Pivot.
okay. You could pivot. There's an exit strategy. It's much easier. What can we expect from Furnished Finder moving forward?
I mean, we are working our tails off over here.
Yeah.
Our platform grew so big so quickly. We have over 300,000 listings now. And our entire team is working so hard to make the experience better and more efficient for everybody, for travelers and for property owners and managers. Like, just expect to watch everything continue to get more efficient, more user friendly. Expect the demand to keep going up. I mean, all the data we see is just the demand is there, right? And it is not fading. We see no signs of that at all. So expect to hear from us a lot. Like we're working really hard, not only to improve the platform, like the skeleton it's built on, the way it operates, everything behind the curtain of a website, right? And a marketplace, the speed, the interface, the user friendliness, not only all of that, but we're also working really hard to make it so that when someone has a question, it's very easy to find the answer. Or, hey, you're looking to learn more about midterm rentals. Like you can get more education from us, more resources. Like we're working so that we can help you through everything.
Right.
Not just from one angle, right? Because we live and breathe these monthly furnished rentals. Like that's all we do, right? So
Right.
it's like we have the data, we have the experience, and there's just so much goodness to share.
I love that. And what's next for you in your own personal portfolio?
That's a great question. We've been on a little bit of a pause as far as like acquisition. We've been really trying to hone in our procedures and like
Yeah.
efficiencies. There's things like bookkeeping that I just absolutely hate. I'm never going to like it. I hate
I've
every
never
minute of
heard
it.
anybody else say that before.
Right? I know most
Never.
people love it. But now it's kind of like, okay, who can help us with that? So we got to, that offboarded, things like that. And now I think we're at the point where it's like where we want to scale a little bit more like slower and steadier, but like a little bit, I don't want to say smarter because I think all of our growth has been really smart, but just a little bit more strategically.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think we've been really in like a refining stage. So it's been really good, and we're seeing kind of the fruit of the labor come from that stage.
Yeah.
I'm also excited to get back to the growth stage because like most investors or entrepreneurs, like I don't sit still very well. I don't do that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to that again.
Good.
But it's exciting. And I think it's exciting to just see like the markets I have most of my properties in, most of them are not big. They're really not big markets, but the demand and the way that the world is changing is just, there's just so much opportunity, right? There's so much demand, and
Yeah.
it's a way that you can give people solid housing that need solid housing, right? So it's just, you're a part of the solution, which I think is really rewarding.
I love that you said that because here we are in 2025. And yes, there are opportunities out there. It is up to
Yeah.
us to go and find
Yes.
them and to do something with
Yes.
it. But there are absolutely still opportunities out there. So thank you for saying that. Katie, I appreciate you answering all of my questions and talking about yourself along with Furnished Finder. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. This was so fun.
Good. For all of our listeners out there, thank you also for joining us. Do make sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. We release new episodes every single Tuesday. And also, if you enjoyed today's episode, and I know you did, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. What that does is that actually helps other women get the support and the community that they need as well to be able to find us at the Lady Landlords Facebook group. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Tuesday for the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Lady Landlords podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your real estate investing journey, visit lady-landlords.com to book a 15-minute orientation call with me and see if you're ready to join our mentorship program. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter and join our Facebook group for exclusive real estate investing tips and offers. Invest with confidence. Become a Lady Landlord today.